more of a free-flowing conversation than sitting around and kind of, oh, hello, my name's Kyle, and welcome to Life Parlay. So, I kind
Yeah,
of
no,
like
that's
to,
how I do it.
yeah. But so we have Josh Young on today, Joshua, Joshy, whatever you want to call him, whatever he likes to be called. Um, yeah, we have him on. He's actually running his own podcast now. You want to tell the listeners what your podcast is called and what you
Yeah.
guys talk to?
So it's called JO.YO, just JO.YO, real simple. It's just kind of free form conversation. I don't really get into anything specific. I put my eighth one up last night, and each one's just different. We talk about anything and everything. Like my first one was with my buddy Quentin, and we were talking about Disney movies from the get go, and we ended up talking about my jujitsu match, and then we got into some other stuff. I talked to him yesterday, and it was about like how are we doing with this coronavirus? Are we getting outside? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Um, and then I've talked to a couple of professors on campus just about things that they're um, passionate about, things that they've studied. So it ranges, and that's kind of how I like it. I'm one of those. I like to talk to people, and I like to talk about different things, and kind of get into what makes other people tick for the most part. So
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah. So I found out that you get demonetized right away anytime you bring up sensitive subjects, and
oh,
the COVID-19 is one of those things. The COVID-19 is one of the things that it's sensitive, is deemed sensitive.
interesting.
So, since we've now talked about that, I get demonetized on YouTube. So I don't know if do you run the actual. So I know you use the Anchor app. How
Yeah,
I sent
that's
you.
right.
Do you have you recorded their like little sponsor thing for it too, where you can make like a couple of like you make like cents on the. You ever seen that
I
yet or no?
No, I haven't. So I'm still kind of waiting. It kind of tells you that we'll email you whenever there's somebody that matches with you as far as a sponsor or whatever. And I still
Okay.
haven't had anything. I haven't gotten any emails with like something to read off of to put in for an ad or anything. I haven't got that yet, so I'm just kind of
Okay.
like hands in the air, but I'm still doing it. I'm having fun with it. So.
So on the Anchor app itself, I did it in the very beginning. You don't have to go through anything. If you go to, I think it's like I don't know if you go on your phone, but I do it on the computer too. And when I did on the
Yeah.
computer, you click on ads, and they have one that is from Anchor itself.
Oh,
So that's what's on the beginning of mine every single time is an
right.
Anchor ad that's straight from them, and it's pretty much so I'm putting out their information. So it's free
Right.
advertising pretty much for them. And then
Gotcha.
I can make you can make stuff off of that. So that's one of the free sponsors you get.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, so we had someone on the other day. He has about 20,000 followers on YouTube, and
Oh,
then
nice.
he knows some people that have like a lot more than that. So we ran one the other day. We ran for like 4 hours and 40 minutes, and it was unbelievable. I mean,
Wow, dude.
we drank and drank and drank, and you could see it halfway through. I started rambling and stuff, and it was like a very you could see that I was a little bit tipsy because it just start rambling and getting on like
Yeah.
like tangents and stuff, and you just start going
Right.
crazy. And so we had that. So we have to break up a 4 hour and 40 minute podcast. We're gonna split into two. I think
Yeah.
like one's a 2 hour, and then maybe another one an hour only. And then we're gonna cut the last like hour of it too, just because it's like because we probably were getting into stupid shit at the end of it. So
Right.
so we wanted to keep it a little bit, better so we can. What we'll do is we'll split it. The first one about an hour and a half, maybe second one hour and a half, and then drop the last part of it. I'm not sure yet how we're gonna do it.
Right.
I'll talk to I have a video editing guy, so he'll take care of that, and we'll see
Good
what he
stuff.
thinks about that. But yeah, so that's why we started going to YouTube now too, because
Right.
so yesterday I did one yesterday with my father and his two lifelong buddies. So they kind
Nice.
of like had like a shoot the shit, time and just kind of talk about whatever they wanted to and
Right. Right.
all that kind of good stuff. So I had them come on, and then I put their video up to YouTube. So that way, when we put up these other ones for the person that has a lot of followers, they'll be able to click on those, and then when they look at the rest of the YouTube channel, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, he's got 2 more on there too. Like,
Right.
all right, perfect. Like, we can watch those too. But the only thing is I don't make money off of the YouTube ones unless,
True. Yeah.
and because I'm getting demonetized every single time because of pretty much every single thing you say. Because I guess it's very, very easy to get demonetized. I mean, we were talking to the guy the other day, and he just said he's actually my cousin. So it was actually I had my first cousin and my third cousin on. And my third cousin was the one who kind of ran me through it, and he's like, it's pretty much anything you say. Anything you say that you think is wrong is definitely wrong. And anything you don't, and anything you question at all is definitely wrong as well. And it's just like,
Wow.
so it just, there's a lot of little bits and pieces that you got to, like, little holes you got to
Right.
jump through and stuff.
Right.
But I don't
Dang,
know.
man.
I wanted to see how's quarantine life for you? What's keeping you busy?
Well, I was talking to my buddy yesterday, and it's a lot of just trying to get a routine. And you mentioned it in one of our class calls the other day, just trying to find a routine. And so, like I set an alarm every morning. There's no need for me to wake up early, but I always set an alarm for at least 7, and at least just try to be awake. And then for the most part, I'm actually just doing homework inside, and I try to get it knocked out early in the week. Like last week, I had all my homework done by Wednesday,
Nice.
so I'm trying to get that done here this week. We'll see, and then I'm actually in a club on campus. It's a friend of mine. He is the president of some rocket club on campus.
Okay.
So I went to a meeting back in like January,
Okay.
and I went to another one here a few months ago, and then I finally joined. And so we've been doing meetings over Zoom every Tuesday night, and so we're in the middle of doing an online project. So we're trying to reach out to high schools, local schools around the area, and we're trying to figure out if they have any plans for uh, uh, distance learning, so to speak, online learning for these kids. And if they do, what is it and can we help? So we're trying to make this website with trying to get kids to, like, one of them is like to make a paper rocket. Another one was something that I researched was how to make a parachute. Make a parachute, get like one of those little toy soldier guys or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
just throw it out, and just little things like that for them to do while they're not really in school or anything like that. And so we're trying to look at it through breaking it up in different grades, so like from K through third grade, third through sixth, and things like that. So we're trying to find all this crazy stuff. So those are my Tuesdays, and so that on top of doing my homework is keeping me relatively busy. But for the most part, I really have to remind myself to actually go outside, because after a while, after a week, I'm sitting around. I'm like, oh my god, I need to get out of this house. I've
Yeah.
seen too many walls, and I need to go outside, because it's actually really nice right now. It's not like triple digits in the desert. It's
Yeah.
sustainable enough to where you can go outside and you won't die. So yeah, it's just so that's basically what my life has been as of lately. And then cooking too. Cooking passes time.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what they said. They said that there's 2 things that could happen when you come out of this: is either everyone becomes good cooks or everyone becomes an alcoholic. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because either you're
exactly.
sitting around drinking, like, it's just funny because we were sitting there like last week even, and we were drinking, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's only Wednesday,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm kind of drunk, but I don't really have class tomorrow or anything. I don't have homework until Friday. Oh yeah, okay. Then you drink on Thursday too, and you're like, oh, what the hell is going on? Like, I never drank like that during, when I would be going to school Monday through Thursday. Never
Yeah.
drink during the week. I would never drink Monday through Thursday at
Oh,
all.
sure. Yeah.
I would always just be like, keep it to the weekend, like keep it
Yeah.
safe, like for myself personally, just like I don't need to be doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
But now, like I said, there is no routine that I have.
Yeah.
So I mean, finally, like today, I, one of like the I think it's like the third day of the time. I finally got up super early and was like up for the day, and I'm here and I'm ready to go. But at the same time, it's only 12 o'clock, and it's like, all right, I have like one assignment due tonight. I'm like, all right, like I got another 10 hours before I got to even start that. So I'm very like, but I don't know. So I don't know if you heard yesterday, but so I'm in one of my classes, my 408 class, my Com 408.
Yeah.
For the people that don't know what Com 408 is, it's a
Statistics
it's just,
is what it is.
yeah, pretty much a stats class with a lot of other BS, and it's for our major. It's for our major. So, and our teacher ended up changing the group project that we had originally had.
Oh yeah,
And now
yeah.
he's changing it to where it's like no project at all. We have to do our own homework. And I wanted to be like, hey, it's not like I'm saying I'm mooching off these people and getting a good grade, but we were collaborating and I was getting 20s out of 20s with these guys.
Right. It
And now
makes
I'm
life
getting
a
rid of
lot
these guys.
easier.
Yeah, now I guess I start doing
Yeah.
this stuff by myself. I was like, there's a good chance I'm gonna be getting 10s out of 20 now. Like, thanks a lot. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, all right. But I guess he's
Wow.
had a lot of issues though. I guess there's been a lot of issues with that kind of stuff. But I think
Yeah.
that's like the biggest thing is I think when you're in school and you're going to classes and you do stuff with like a group, you can kind of get on that person's case a little bit, and you could be like, hey, like you're here in class, like you might as well like pitch in, whatever. And
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
gonna, and like the pure grading and stuff like that, you're not gonna really like, you don't really care as much. But like now, like what's your excuse? Like
Yeah.
unless you're sick, what is your excuse? Like, don't tell me the excuse that you're working every single day, 40 hours a week. If you are, I mean, awesome. That I mean, okay, either you're a nurse or whatever, but I don't think you're a nurse because you haven't told me you're a nurse or a doctor or anything.
Right.
And if you were, then why the hell are you still in school? Because you should be done already if you're a nurse. And then, or I don't know, I guess you could work like at other little places that could be, deemed essential, I guess. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I think when it's like this, when we have groups, it's a lot easier to judge people and be like, all right, like what the hell are you doing? Like why
Okay.
can't
Yeah.
you like meet us for this like small time window? You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? Like, so it's funnier to me because it's like during school you see them and you could be like, hey, we're doing this, and then people usually commit easier. And you would
Right.
think that now with no one doing that much at all, they'd be able to commit even more. And
Right.
now I think people are just lazy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it because I was talking to another professor of mine where she was mentioning that it's been God almost a month now, right, that we've been online,
Yeah.
and I think it was just last week I was talking to her. She's saying since we went online, some of the people in this one particular class they haven't turned anything in, and she sent out a message saying like, if you're gonna stay in the class, all this stuff is due. And then God, when it just came recently, she sent out another one on the day that was the deadline to drop any classes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so she sent that out, and I'm thinking to myself, are there still people not turning anything and not doing anything?
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I can feel that getting lazy. Absolutely, I can because I was telling a couple of people already that it's difficult to get the motivation to actually do homework because now you're just home. And I'm telling people a lot of the times that, um, you know, home for me is when I get home, I'm chill now. I'm in chill mode. I'm not doing anything because last couple of semesters I would be doing homework on campus. I just stay there
Yeah.
because I got to drive and traffic and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, I'll just let traffic die down, do homework here on campus, knock it out. So whenever we went to online, trying to switch into this mode where all right, I have to do this work here at home again, it's it's been rough. So I get being lazy, but then completely just saying, fuck school. I'm
Yeah.
like, nah,
Yeah.
come
Right.
on, man.
It doesn't. It, you have no excuse. That's
Yeah,
the thing. Like I mean, again, unless you are sick, unless you have the virus, okay,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
you're dying, I can understand. Then
right.
then it's okay. Like I understand. I'm not gonna fault you at all. But the fact that you can sit there and like you get out of bed at Like, and I wasn't a culprit of, I didn't. I think once, I think it was my first time ever that I've done this, that I
Mm.
laid in bed all day. It was like a Saturday, and I was
Yeah.
like, there's nothing to do today. I'm gonna just lay in my room all day, watch TV, watch movies, whatever. I'm not gonna
Right.
eat anything. I'm not gonna get up at all. Like, you know, that was one of those days. And at that end of that day, I was sitting there in the bed and I go, I feel disgusted with myself. I was like,
Right?
this is gross. Like, I
Yeah.
got up, I like started doing stuff. I was like, all right, I washed these sheets. Like, I laid in these all day. Like, that's
Yeah.
disgusting. You know, like
Yeah.
I feel gross. I feel gross not only like physically but mentally too. Like,
Mentally. Right.
yeah, mentally was the biggest one because you're just sitting there going, this sucks. Like, why would I do this to myself? And I
Right.
did that the other day, and it's like, but some people do that every day of the week because they have no routine. And
Yeah.
like the routine for me, it's like, I mean, we've kind of gotten into small routines. Like, we'll eat lunch. I mean, we kind of eat lunch as a house. I mean, it's together as a house because there's 5 of us total. Now there's only 3 of us, and like for lunch, you're kind of on your own. But like dinner time, like normal dinner time between like 6 and like 8 o'clock, everyone's like
Yeah.
kind of cooking up something. So you're eating, and then
Yeah.
we've made it like where we do movie night every night. So every night at around between 8 and like 11:30 p.m. we'll start a
Yeah.
movie and like knock out a movie. It's just like a house. But like
Right. Right.
last night, I mean, I was sitting around the couch and we actually been watching Harry Potter because I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Nice.
yeah, because I was like, I remember watching them when I was younger, but then we started going back through them again, and I don't remember watching these at all. Like, I don't
Yeah.
remember any of these scenes at all. And they're like, oh, that's like so lucky for you, and I was like, I don't know, like this one I fell asleep during. Like, they're not all
Right.
that great. So,
Yeah.
but we had that, and last night I was sitting there and I go, I hate my life. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, I hate this. Like, I want to do something. Like, I know
Yeah.
it's only Tuesday night, but like, I want to get the hell out of here. Like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored
Yeah.
of doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, that's why I do the podcast because you have a different
Sure.
conversation with every single person. But at the same
Right.
time, if you really look at the conversation when you have a free flowing conversation like this, you kind of talk about the exact same shit all the time, and it's so fucking boring. Like it
Well,
really is because you get the certain little things where you say the same thing and it's like I talked about that yesterday. You know what I mean?
well, one thing you can do is start picking up reading. That's
Yeah.
one thing. You can do that. I know a lot of people, they read books. I'm not big into books, but what I've decided to do was just kind of stay up to date on news and everything.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, just to see what's going on outside of the pandemic and everybody inside is looking at what's going on politically. People are calling for Bernie to finally drop out, which I'm like, oh wow, okay, because everybody's like getting behind Biden now, and there's this talk now that I was reading something today that said Biden is currently leading the polls in Wisconsin, which apparently is like this very important state when it comes to the general election. There's a number of them. There's like California, there's Texas, there's Pennsylvania, Ohio. I know Iowa's another one. So Michigan, and I
Yeah,
guess
Michigan.
Wisconsin. Yeah, and then Wisconsin. Oh, and then Florida. Don't forget Florida. So apparently Wisconsin is a big one. They're saying that Biden has a lead, but that doesn't necessarily say he can win. And I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not big on Biden, but whatever. So
Poor
that's
bastard.
just yeah,
Poor bastard though, because he gets zero FaceTime on like national news. Like you could turn on CNN, MSNBC, or
yeah.
Fox News, and you don't watch. And he does his face doesn't pop up anywhere. And
Well, yeah, but when it does, he doesn't really sound like he knows what he's talking about. He's kind of like aloof. He's kind of out there.
like
So
he's stroking out a little bit once in a while.
yeah, that's one way of putting it. Yeah,
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 it's funny. It's just funny to see it because it's like sometimes you listen to it and it's the funny part is you could listen to him, but then you can also listen to our president now, and it's like, huh, what is there a
it's
better
almost like
option? Like, is there
I know,
someone else out there? Like, is anyone else like want to get into this? Like,
I know, right? Seriously,
who else is there? Like, why can't there be someone else? Like, why can't we have someone fun or someone like better, or someone a little
right?
bit better speaking? I think it's the better speaking that I think we're used to. Just because like if you think about it, if you think about it in the past, you had Bush.
Bush
Bush
was
was he
not.
was
Bush
but
was
he was
decent.
but he was good with his speaking. His speaking. He wasn't
Well,
as
kind
maybe
of. So the thing is,
It was that Texan accent. Maybe I like that a little
right,
bit.
that was fake, by the way. That was fake. But the thing about Bush was he was kind of like a simple guy, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people were drawn to him. That he wasn't exactly one of those that would wow you with the words that he would speak, but he was one of those guys that would just kind of talk and say it plainly. You know what I mean? There were times though, whenever he would be up there, he'd be saying some weird, nasty, like there were so many comedians made fun of this guy, calling him like Bush 2.0. He's like this beta test system because sometimes the words that comes out of his mouth are just like nonsensical. Like what, bro? What did you just say? But the ones that for me that I remember obviously is Obama was one of those ones that was a very good public speaker, and so he had 2 terms, so we were used to him, and then we got fucking Trump.
Yeah, where
He's like, I don't know, he's entertaining, but at the same time, like after a while, the entertainment for me just kind of dropped off. Like I don't know, did you see him whenever they were impeaching him and all these accusations of Ukraine was all over the news? He literally came out on the White House lawn and he had notes that were written in like Sharpie. Like it was big, huge black marker Sharpie. And he just comes out and he says something along the lines of, "Are the cameras rolling? Are you getting this? Are you getting this? This is what really happened." And he's like reading this. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, if you're really innocent, you wouldn't need note cards. Like,
yeah.
so I mean, it was kind of weird because I don't know. I was watching it and I was laughing. I was like, "You're literally reading this from a note card right now, bro." And not only that, but you wrote it in Sharpie. Come
Yeah.
on, man. Come on. So
Oh,
yeah,
yes. But it is also funny too, because if you think about it, if Twitter would have existed with Bush, I mean, he probably would have been in the same position. Shit would have came up,
oh,
stuff
sure.
would have popped out, and he probably would have been tweeting. I mean, I don't know if he would have been tweeting the same way, but it's obviously it's a different it's a different time,
Sure.
and like that aspect, I laugh my ass off at on
Sure.
Twitter when you see him post things right now, the president, and he'll post things and it's just like asinine tweets where you just look at it and go like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I laugh because you look at the comments and people are so angry.
Oh, they're
People are,
triggered. Oh yeah.
people take it personally, and
Yeah.
that to me is hilarious because that's what he's doing. Like he knows it. He knows he knows he's messing with people's heads in little ways,
Hmm.
but obviously, I mean, other people think this way, and I mean, sometimes you can understand it as but you're like the president of the United States. Like maybe you should chill a little bit. You know,
Oh,
that's the
absolutely.
biggest thing. And that's the biggest thing I think is he doesn't like to he doesn't like chill out with the bullshit that comes out of his mouth. He just lets it all go. He
Yeah.
lets it all go. And I mean, but at the same time, like I mean, I think he's done well as a president. Like if you looked at it how he's done, I would say he's all right. But it's his like personal persona is just
Oh, sure.
oh,
Absolutely.
it's gross. It's
Yeah,
gross.
it rubs people the wrong way, and other people love it, and that's how he got elected. He's like, he really is. He's the biggest troll to ever come through the White House. He. I honestly believe he trolled his way to the White House, and because yeah, like you were saying with the tweets, it, and I'm not even on Twitter. And the funny thing is, you don't need to be on Twitter to know what's going on Twitter because everybody
Yeah,
talks about it all the time. So just reading some of the stuff and people talking about some of the stuff that he's put up there, it's
yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like I'm just like, people actually get triggered over this. People get this mad, and he's just saying it just to get a response from people. That's the only reason why he's doing it, because he's gonna come back around a week later and he's gonna say something else that's completely off from that. Like um, recently, I was just reading, and he'll do this all the time. He'll like say one thing and then do a complete 180 and say something completely opposite. It's like the current Secretary of the Navy today, I guess, is stepping down because he went out and said some nasty stuff about I forget the captain's name, but the captain of Theodore Roosevelt that he fired. Um, and Seknav was sitting next to Trump at it was an Army Navy football game, and there's a picture of it, and it's on Twitter. And yet, right now, he's saying stuff like, "Oh, I don't know this guy. I don't even know him." You know what I mean? And people are taking that seriously so much that they write about it in a column. They're like, "You see what he's saying? These are lies." I'm like, "Well, yeah, duh, it's a lie. He's just saying that as like a PR stunt. That's all it is. So everybody knows he clearly knows him.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but he's a funny guy, man. I don't know what to say. If I honestly think if they're saying that Biden could win, considering Trump didn't exactly have the best response to coronavirus, so they're saying because of that it could hurt him, but I don't really know how much. We'll see. I honestly think that if Biden, and I think Biden's probably going to win the Democratic nominee. So if he does, it's going to be Trump again. Honestly,
Bernie's out. You know that, right? He got out today. He got out today.
He did.
Yeah. They came out with it today. Just a little bit ago, I saw it that Bernie he dropped out of the race.
He finally did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, as of like 4 hours ago, Bernie Sanders drops out of the 2020 Democratic race for president.
All right. Poor guy. I mean, I didn't agree with everything that he was running on, but I couldn't help but think that he was a good guy. Like, just personally, I think he had a good character. Like, if you look up anything Bernie within the past 20, 30 years, it's been pretty consistent with what his stance is when it comes to different policies and foreign policies and things like that. Like, for example, he was somebody that did not think that we should have gone into Iraq back in 2003. And he still stands by that. So, like, he seems pretty consistent, at least, with the things that he believes and the things that he says. I can't help but respect that, even if I disagree with the person. I respect somebody who is consistent. And if somebody who changes their mind, at least explains the reasons why. Because a lot of the times with politicians, they're kind of fluid. They say all these weird different things from left to right and all this other jazz. But if they explain reasons why, rather than just trying to, stick their finger to the wind and try to get a feel for what Twitter's saying, then somebody like that I can't get behind. But if it's somebody who's consistent and they're honest and they have some kind of sense of integrity, and even if they do change their mind and have good reasons for it, then I respect those kinds of people, and I can't help but I would vote for those kinds of people. So that's why I say poor Bernie, because I honestly think he's getting a bad rep. He got screwed in 2016, and he's getting screwed again in 2020, all because the Democratic parties, they just don't like him.
Yeah, so. What was the libertarian guy who was running last year? 2016. It was
Johnson.
Yeah, something Johnson. I wanted to say it was Bill, but
David Johnson or Bill something Johnson. I forget his name.
So I just remember that guy, and I remember the day he screwed up because he was in I guess he was like in a forum almost, like a Q&A, and someone asked him about smoking weed or something like that, and he sat there and he pretended to have a heart attack because he said he smoked weed. So he like fell to the ground, and I was like, "Oh, you screwed up, man!" Like, yeah, I mean, you didn't have much of a chance anyways, but
right.
Like, you just blew your chances completely. And like, if you decided in the future that you wanted to run for president, like, I mean, either left or right side, then you probably lost your chances right there because of how you acted.
Gary Johnson.
Yeah, because I would say I'm a libertarian. I would say that just because I don't think I think the government gets into a little bit too much of our business.
Right.
And at the same time, I like weed, so there's a little left on me, and I also like guns, which is on the right side of me a little bit. So it's all kind of in the middle. But obviously you have your beliefs to the left and to the right, and certain little aspects of wherever you get into. But it's just interesting because I talked about the other day, and one of my family members said, "Oh, you're going to go to Arizona and you're going to end up marrying a conservative. Get ready, like,
Right.
how's how your parents going to feel about that?" And I'm like, I don't think my parents really care about that. But it was just funny because after coming to school here, I talked about it, and it's like we're all in this big bubble at school. Like at school, it's different.
Yeah.
School
Yeah.
here, it's different because you don't get your. I mean, you get your fair share of people that are super conservative, but you also
Yeah.
get your fair share of people that are super, super liberal as well. So you
Yeah.
get very, very, like, you get a wide variety of people. And then
Yeah.
you also have a lot of people in the middle that just really don't like to talk about it because
Yeah.
because because they really don't know shit. They
Yeah.
really don't know anything. And that's okay, really. I don't fault you for that because I think I'm in that middle area. Like,
Hmm.
I have my beliefs, and I agree with certain things here and certain things there, but I don't keep up with it all the time. I don't always,
Sure.
like, I just didn't. So it's a little weird, but that's what I thought I liked about coming to school, is just because you just get everyone being able to voice their opinions in a certain way,
Right.
and you don't have to, you don't get forced to follow something. You know what I mean?
Right.
'Cause
Right.
when you're growing up and you're at home, you're almost forced to follow, what your parents do, or someone
Hmm.
in your family does, just because you're
Well,
around them so
that's
much.
all. Yeah, that's all you know. Like if that's all you stick around, then that's all you're going to be familiar with. But then, like you were saying, because yeah, where were you from again? Like
I'm from Illinois. I'm from Illinois.
Illinois. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you would have stayed in Illinois, then all you would have known is Illinois. But now you're out here in a different part of the country, different region. You get different kinds of people. Um, you know, yeah, whenever you expose yourself to new people, new ideas, new worldviews, uh, you're going to look at your own and then kind of start questioning, um, basically just around the fact of, all right, where is my argument valid? Where is it invalid, kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's natural, and I think that's good. There's a lot of good that comes out of that. Now, as far as Gary Johnson was concerned, I thought that was his attempt to troll, and like you said, though, it was a fail. Because yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, bro, what are you doing?
Like, you fucked up, man. Like, you shouldn't have done it. You
Yeah,
shouldn't have done it.
yeah,
But but yeah, you are right with the different kind of people, because in Illinois you get your classic. A lot of kids I went to school with, they're baseball players. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of get like the vibe you get in Illinois that I went to school, community college, compared to here. And then, like, even I went on vacation over the winter break. I went to California for a while,
hmm,
for about a week, and just a totally different breed of people in California compared to even here in Arizona.
oh
And
yeah,
we're 5 hours away from them
yeah,
only.
we're not
And
far,
like,
yeah,
and here it's more. I mean, I've surrounded myself with some people that they love to party, and they're not even in school anymore. But they love to party. They love to go to Old Town Scottsdale,
yeah,
and that place is, like,
that's nuts. I think
it's
it's
nuts.
crazy.
It's crazy because it's a whole block of just clubs. You know what I mean? That's just like,
Yep,
it's, you don't find anything like that, really. Like, because even if you say Vegas, you could say Vegas. Okay, but how long does it take me to walk from here to here in Vegas, from one building to another? It takes me 15 minutes. Where here,
yeah,
you hop out of this one place and you can turn the corner and go into another one, and then
yeah,
into another one, and then go around a circle and hit another one, and, like, they're all in this, like, tight, little nook of just clubs.
yeah,
So I mean, like, the club itself, you kind of get tired of. You know what I mean? Just because
sure,
it's like the
yeah,
same music over and over.
it really is.
But I don't know if you've ever been to Boondocks.
I have not, no.
Okay, so Boondocks is in Scottsdale. It's kind of off of the main strip of that, I guess,
Yeah,
and it's more of like I would say it's like an upscale dive bar, is what it really is. Because, like, if you
yeah,
go to it during the week, you probably see the same exact people there during the week.
sure.
And on the weekends, you probably see the exact people too, because everyone likes to go there. Like,
Mhm.
once you'd like to go there, you're always there.
Right.
And it's just like a big open bar, and just it's less of a club feel. Like, you don't have to be dressed up and, like,
Right.
wearing a suit, or dressed up nicely to go and do whatever you want to do. And, like, you don't really have to wear a suit either, like in Scottsdale itself. But I don't know, occasionally we would do it just to, like, have fun with it, and just kind of, like, you almost do it to make
Yeah,
fun of
sure.
it a little bit, because you're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, like, let's
Why
ball out
not?
tonight. Yeah, like, oh,
Yeah.
I got $30. I'm buying 3 drinks tonight. Like, what's up?
Right? Yeah. That's about what
So
it takes, man. Absolutely.
so but the
Uh,
club but the clubs and stuff like that. But so it was just weird because so I went from Illinois where our bars were, 15 minutes away from us.
mhm.
You go to like two or three different bars and that's it. And then coming here, you hit this and it's a whole different extreme. Even Mill too. It's just all the clubs right there on the street, and it's just like
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
walk down and just see it all. And then we went to I went to California, and the first night we went out, it was like more of like a bar place. Another
Mhm.
place was a bar place, but on the beach, so it's kind of cooler. You're like, all right,
Right.
this is cool, this is cool. And then I went up to Dana Point, and that's just like south of it's in Orange County, so it's about an hour south of LA.
Gotcha.
And I was out there with a friend that goes to school here. And I go to her, I go, where are we going? Like, where are we going? So we go to
Yeah.
a couple of bars, and these bars are like lame as shit. I'm sitting there going, like, these suck. Like, these are like bars for me back home, like in Illinois. Like, I feel like I'm back in Illinois at these bars. And I go, so like,
Yeah.
where's the fun places to go? And she's like, this is it. Like, what do you mean? Like, and I'm like, I'm not trying to say anything here. She's like, well, if you want to see some cool shit, you go to like LA. And I'm like, I'm not gonna go to Los Angeles. Like, I don't need to. Like,
Right.
I've heard about it, and that's all I need to know. But that's like same thing, going to downtown Chicago instead of like the boonies. So it's
Right.
pretty much we were in the boonies of California, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, so there's the bars. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, had a fantastic time, but at
Right.
the same time, you're so used to going to all these clubs and everything that when
Right.
you go 5 hours away to California, where everyone, hypes up California is the best place to be. It's the best place to be, and then you go and it's like I'm in Illinois. I'm in Illinois, yet I can see the ocean in a couple of places. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Like, but so I like the nightlife. I think is always just funny to look at. But Arizona is like nightlife is. They say it's like in the top three or four in the country.
Yeah, yeah, there is that. I mean, I've been to other places where it's a lot like Old Town, like the Gaslamp District in San Diego. That's
Yeah,
another one where you can literally, and that's even bigger than Old Town. Like if I remember correctly, I think it's Fifth and Fourth Street in Gaslamp, and you literally have at least a half a mile on both, uh,
wow,
where it's just nothing but bars and clubs. And Miami Beach too, South Beach. I've been down there. You can walk. Some of them are next to each other, some not so much. But I was in Fort Lauderdale, and that was another one very
yeah,
similar to Old Town, where there's like
yes,
just this block, and there's just bars on every single corner.
yeah,
So
yep,
it's definitely different, man. Because I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, very, very small town. And we came out here to the Phoenix area when I was going into my freshman year of high school. Vastly different, vastly different. I still went to a fairly small high school. Like my graduating class was only about 400, but my graduating class back east was a grand total of 82. So it was a vast difference for me. It was just huge. But then whenever I get familiar with the area and I see all these other schools with classes of 1,000, 1,500, even 2,000, I'm like, damn, that's a lot of people,
oh yeah, oh yeah. Like I
So,
think I think we had in my high school alone. I think we broke 1,000 my senior year, and
oh
my
wow.
entire school was 1,000.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
we had a small class. So it was like 350 people, I think, graduated my senior year. And like you could sit there actually and look through a yearbook. My junior year or my sophomore and junior year, I think I could look at a yearbook even right now, and I could tell you every single person's name in that yearbook. I mean, to
Nice.
a certain extent, probably like I probably get 90% of the people,
Right.
just because like you see them all the time. You
All
know
the
who they
time,
are.
yeah.
Like either they live in your neighborhood or they live in the neighborhood over, or they
Yep.
live like 20 minutes away, and it's all the same kids that you went to, you know,
Yeah.
elementary school and middle school you went to, and then you joined all these other people, and like
Hmm.
when you join all these other people, it's really not that many either. It's like, so you run into a lot of people you knew, and like same thing with then went to community college too. Community college was all the same people I went to high school with, damn
Sure.
near.
Yeah.
I mean 80. So I mean from my graduating class alone, I think over 60% of them went to community college. You know, I was like,
Oh
you know,
wow.
but which is a lot of kids. Don't get me wrong. It's probably, you know, okay, out of 350 kids, I would say probably about 250 kids probably went to community college or didn't do anything.
Right.
And then those other kids like went away to school and like, but like those other guys that went away to school, like they went to school for like 6 years though. Like they're still in school now with me in the same boat. And I'm like, okay, well, I saved money for like those first 3 years of school. So now I
Yeah.
have like this other 3 years of school where I'm only paying these like this tuition instead. And it's
Right.
like, okay, so like, you know, but it was always a little bit different. But okay, so I remember this from a class before that I had with you. Um,
Hmm.
you and the bro, I won't use his, I don't know his last name, so it's okay. But Gus, I think his name was Gus.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys like you guys had a bond because you guys were what? So you were in the what were you in? Were you in the army? What were you in?
The Navy. We were
The
both in the
Navy.
Navy, and
Okay.
yeah, I was stationed. I was stationed on a surface ship, but he was on a sub. So as far as the platforms go, we were on different platforms, but we both knew what it was to be out at sea.
Yeah.
And we both knew Navy lingo and things like that. So, yeah, Gus, man, he's cool. I tried to get together with him a couple of times, grab drinks, but never really worked out. But um, yeah, yeah, we talked all the time. He actually was going to try and help me hook me up with a job. He was working for ASU Athletics, but he was doing like ticket window stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And he said, I guess his boss was looking for more veterans all the time. And I'm like, well, yeah, let him know, man. I guess I'll try something out.
Yeah.
So that didn't pan out, but yeah, yeah, me and him was cool. You know, we worked together on a project. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So it was a good time. Good old Gus. I gotta hit him
So
up now.
she said, yeah. So Navy. So what did you do? What did you do in the Navy? I mean,
I was a sonar tech on USS Mahan. That was the DDG 72. I did that. I was in for 6 years. I was on Mahan for just about four. So I was stationed. I did my boot camp and everything while I was in Chicago in the summer. It was hot, and I got out of there. I did some schooling across the street in Great Lakes. That's just north of Chicago. So in Great Lakes, they have uh, the boot camp, RTC, Recruit Training Command, and then basically across the street they have another command where you have all these different job ratings and their schools. My rating had a school there for about 9 weeks. And once I was done, I graduated, and then they shipped me off to San Diego, where I spent 14 months doing some more schooling.
hmm
And after that, I got my orders to Mahan in Norfolk, Virginia, which I spent the next four. While I was there, I did three deployments. Let's see. So I was there for 4 years, and I was trying to calculate it, and I think the grand total time within those 4 years I spent on American soil was less than 2 years.
okay.
So I was on the water a lot.
Yeah.
So I lived in Virginia Beach at the time while I was out there. Not bad. It wasn't bad. Virginia Beach is nice. A lot of people like to live out there though because it was nicer. And then the beach was out there. So I had a good time out there. You know, it's every place is what you make of it. Like Norfolk initially, when you get there, you're thinking to yourself like, bro, this place sucks. Especially since I was coming from San Diego. So that's a drastic change. But you know, you get used to it. You find some of the good spots. Again, like the nightlife and making friends and good beach spots to go to, things like that. So it was a lot of fun, man. When I was out there, the deployments were long and crazy, but you know, I had good people on board with me while I was there. No complaints. There was some times where some people uh, where I didn't get along with too much, but you know that happens with any job really. So it was a good time, man. A good 6 years. I learned a lot, saw a lot, and experienced things that I'm never going to experience really ever again with anything else that I do. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and it's paying for my school right now. So hey, hats off to
Yeah.
you, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So, all right. So when you were there, so obviously you see like the movies and stuff like that of how like the bunks were and all that kind of stuff. Is that exactly how it was, or was it even
Oh,
tighter? Tighter.
oh yeah, no, no, no. Like if you, I've never shared any of this stuff on my Facebook or anything, but a lot of friends of mine all the time they'll talk about this quarantine thing, and then they'll post these memes about if you think quarantine is bad, try living here for 6 months, blah blah blah, out of the year, and yeah, no, it's tight, man. It's literally like a coffin. Some of these bunks you get into. The first time I got on board, I had a top bunk, so actually didn't have like a roof over me. I just had like overhead piping and things, so I could actually sit up in my rack. But later on, the thing is with the top rack, you have a stack of three, so you're up kind of high. So that means you kind of have to jump down and climb in. And then whenever you trice up your rack to get stuff like inside of it, it can be kind of a pain in the ass because you have to like get up. If you're not tall enough, you gotta get a tippy toe and look and see where things are at, especially if they're in the back. So after a while, once I got more seniority, I was like, I want a lower rack, but I don't want the bottom one. So give me a middle one. That's a good one. So I switched to a middle one, and when I would go to sleep at night, I would literally have another rack like right above my head. Like there was no sitting up. There was not a lot of movement going on in these racks. Like they were specifically designed. You're just sleeping.
Yeah.
Um, so, and yeah, there's really not a lot of privacy. Like the berthing I was in was one of the larger berthings, and there was like 80 some guys in this berthing, sharing a fairly small bathroom. There were two urinals and I think three toilets, and
Wow.
only three showers.
For 80
So
guys.
for 80 guys, yeah, yeah. There was at least I want to say 5 or 6 sinks. There was at least some variety there. But yeah, trying to shave in the morning when you wake up, you got to time that just right because otherwise you're gonna be sitting there waiting. There's gonna be a line to shower, to shave, sometimes just to shit.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, man. But I tell you what, it made for some funny moments. I will say that it wasn't bad. It was really bad after like days in PT. So when we would be in port, we'd be portside Norfolk, and we would have like command PT. We'd all be at the field, and we were, doing our physical stuff and whatnot, push-ups and all that jazz. Then we go back to the ship, and everybody's got a shower. You have got to run back to the ship. You've got to be the first one in the head to get into the shower. Otherwise, you're sitting there and you're waiting. And if you take too long, best believe we're all going to start yelling at you. Like, get the fuck out. We all have to shower. So looking back on it, man, it's actually kind of funny. I reminisce, and it was fun. I enjoyed it, but it your privacy was literally your rack. That was it. You really didn't have a whole lot. Um, but I will say this: when there was choppy seas, not necessarily like big swells, but when it was like 6 or 7 feet, and the ship would like rock back and forth, best night of sleep ever,
Really?
ever. Yes, and we had crappy mattresses too, absolutely crappy mattresses. But there were nights where I would actually sleep better on the ship than I would in my own bed, and I have an amazing bed, so um, it was it was quite an experience. I'll say that much. Yeah,
Yeah. So, all right. So I just kind of want to paint the picture a little
yeah.
bit. So, like, so personal belongings, stuff like that. Could you not really have much?
So
Because you
then,
said because you said that bunk itself is more for sleeping. That's it. Like,
yeah.
so I don't know, like little things like you pretty much are just shoving that by your feet and that's it,
Okay,
or
so when it comes to that, all right, you have so the Navy trains you to deal with this in boot camp. So you have this exact same size rack during boot camp. You trice it up, and you have enough space to put all your like uniform stuff, your socks, skivvies, what have you. And they show you how to fold things. They show you how to put it in there, roll it up, however. All of this designed so that way you can save space in your rack. On the ship, however, you also get a personalized locker. You get your own little locker. It's not that big still, but it's at least something. So when you would go on underways, um, there would be if you want, because I would bring my laptop, but then you wouldn't. I sometimes would stick my laptop in my rack, but none of it would actually be on like the mattress. So in the morning, whenever everybody wakes up, you got to fix your rack. You got to fix the blanket. There's a way to fold it. It has to be folded correctly through the standards that you're taught how to do it in boot camp. You still have to do that while you're on the ship. So you fold everything, you make it look nice, you put everything away, because every morning the XO comes down and inspects berthing. It's got to be clean. So every morning there's berthing cleaners, and every division that lives in the berthing has to send at least one person from the division to represent to clean berthing. So all racks have to be made, all have to be fixed. So whatever personal stuff you have, you gotta stick it in the rack. You gotta have it fit in there a lot, and it's gotta close cleanly. Like if the XO thinks that there's like it's being shoved down and you're trying to close it and then lock it, then they can open it up and inspect it. Like, all right, you need to get some of this crap out. So it's got to be a nice clean close and lock. If we're on deployment, luckily my rate as a sonar tech, we owned a lot of spaces. What I mean by spaces is they're essentially rooms, is how you would describe it in like your house or whatever. So on a ship, we had, I want to say 21 spaces we were responsible for. And some of these spaces had enough room where we could keep some of our personal stuff. So we had filing cabinets in a couple of the spaces, and we assigned a drawer to each person. Like, all right, this top drawer is yours, the bottom drawer, whatever. And that's for you. Whatever you want to stick in there, go ahead, stick it in there.
Yeah.
We would also have, we were lucky enough to have a lot of spaces stacked on top of each other. So that way you could put TVs in there and Xboxes. My first deployment, we had three spaces stacked on top of each other, and in the second space there was a TV, and then in the third one on the bottom there was another TV, and there was like a little hatch that went between the two, and so we would have that open. And we would have a wire going from one Xbox down in the third space up to the second space, and we would have like these little LAN parties at that time. I think it was Black Ops 2.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, we play some Modern Warfare and things like that. So it was a challenge, but we made it work. And if you're surrounded by people enough who are intuitive enough and with the ingenuity to pull some stuff off, it can make for some fun times, some really, really fun times.
Yeah, you gotta make it. I mean, so
right.
my one buddy, he went to Gitmo.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get him on here, but he's like, I can't tell you 90% of the shit I did.
No, he won't.
And I was like, he's like, I can tell you the things that you saw on Snapchat or Instagram stories where we were partying like at the house and getting in trouble all the time. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I can tell you about all that because that's but he's other stuff. He's like, I can't really tell you about, but I mean, so they lived like in a house, I guess. I guess I would be on
barracks.
Yeah, probably on base or whatever it was, and they would have videos all the time. And he goes, we pretty much fished. We went on the boat a lot.
Yeah.
He's like beautiful waters. He goes,
oh, absolutely.
He goes, but the house just like it's like a house that you would find like in the middle of Tempe. That's just like, 6 or 7 different frat like people.
Oh,
over the years. He goes to just trashy a little bit. Like you see some roaches once in a while walking around. You're like, that's bad.
Yeah.
So he just that's how he kind of answered. He goes, but he's like, man, we play Xbox and PS4 all the time. He's like, kidding me? Yeah. He's like, anytime that we had a chance, we would. He's like, because I don't know how you did it when you were on deployment because you're on a ship. So how did you have 3 days on, 2 days off? What was it like?
So we had what we called a work day. We still had a work day. So Reveille was at 6. So once 6 rolled around, you'd hear on what we call the 1MC. It was basically a speaker system throughout the ship. And on the 1MC, you'd start to hear uh, the whistles. God, I hated the whistles. So that was always by the boatswain mate. So they get the 1MC and they'd click it up there in the pilot house. And they would blow their whistle so many times, and this was for reveille. And after that, they would play. Sometimes, if the CO was cool, and most of the time I had some pretty cool COs, they would let us play a wake up song. And it would be anything like they played a Drake song one time. I mean, they played My Girl one time. All these, any songs, like you just pick and they'll play it just to help wake you up.
Yeah.
And it better be a good one too, otherwise people are gonna be bitching about it the rest of the day. Like, who chose that wake up song? Man, that song sucks, you know. So
yeah,
it's the funniest thing. It's the little shit that people will bitch about on a ship, and a wake up song was one of them. So it was so we had the work day, and we had what we called quarters at 7:30. And basically what that is all divisions muster topside, and chain of command comes over. So you got khaki call. We called it khaki call, and that was basically all the chiefs, all the officers. The XO would come in and tell them, all right, this is a plan of the day. This is what's going on. This is where maintenance is probably going to be at, blah, blah, blah. And then once they're done, then my chain of command, which would have been like my chief and then my division officer, they would chit chat and they'd talk about what they're going to talk to us about, and then they would come over, and my first class would salute them and tell them, you know, all present are accounted for, this and this and that. We'd say the sailor's creed, and they would break it down for us. All right, here's what's happening in the plan of the day. We call it POD. Everybody had to have a POD on them. Print it out, have it in your pocket, know what's going on for throughout the day.
So like an itinerary, pretty much, of what the day.
Yeah, this is what the day play. Like it, and it had everything. It had from hour to hour what the ship was going to be doing, the hours of lunch. They had the menu of lunch and dinner and breakfast and all that jazz. And it had a naval history on it. You know, this day in Navy history. That kind of, I mean, everything was on this thing. So then you'd break from there, and you'd have sweepers from 7:30 to 8. Kind of weird thing. And you have to sweep every day because dust accumulates quickly on a ship, and there's nothing worse than having a bunch of dust. And so the ship's got to stay clean. So we sweep twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and basically it's just doing maintenance. And if there's any drills happening, stay out of the way. If you're a part of the drill, make sure you muster for it. And then if you have watch, then you go to your watch. So your watches ran during the day, during the work day. So if I had watch from like 7 to 12, then I'd be down on watch, and whatever's happening throughout the work day is happening. And then when I get off watch, I go eat lunch, and I'm off watch. Now I got to handle what's going on throughout the workday. If you have watch at night, so that means you have to go throughout the workday. You got to do your thing. And if you have like a 17 to 22, which is like a 5 to 10 watch, or a 22 to 2, we called that the mid watch. Then you got to go throughout the day, and then you got to stand that watch. So some guys, this is what I did. When I had the mid watch, I would eat dinner, I'd try to get a workout in, and then take a nap, and then wake up for my watch, and then go back to sleep, and then wake up like.
You say watch. What do you do for a watch?
Well, it depends. When you're underway for sonar techs, a watch is you go down to your sonar control space, and you've got your equipment that you're sitting at, and you're basically watching the water. That's what we did. So a lot of the times we heard Nemo and Flipper and all that jazz. But yeah, that's all that watch was for sonar techs. We sit there and we watch the water. That's what we did.
Yeah. So pretty much not much going on, really, huh?
Nope, nope. We we had long 5. I think we even switched to 6-hour watches at some point. We switched to 6 hours because we were trying to the way we were trying to do it and have like 4 sections of people to go and whatnot. But yeah, they were long, boring watches. They really, really were. So we had to. So if you're sitting there on like the mid watch in the middle of the night, you're fighting sleep, man. You're fighting not falling asleep on watch. So it was a struggle, but you can make watch fun too at the same time. So you know, it was. I mean, yeah. It was a crazy experience. That was our day to day. That was essentially what would happen. From reveille to lights out, essentially.
Mhm.
So yeah, good times, man. Good times.
Yeah. I mean, I think my cousin too. He went to Germany, and he's like,
Okay.
he went to Germany for deployment, and okay, now I'm talking about it. He's gonna call me later and be like, "You asshole, you brought up my deployment." But he's
He was
like,
in the Air Force, wasn't he?
Army.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So it was just funny because he just like we drank a lot. We drank a lot of beer. He goes, "It's Germany." He goes, "We played a lot of video games. We watched a lot of movies." And
Yeah,
I was like, "So what'd you guys actually do? Like, can you tell me what you did?" And he's like, I mean, I kind of told you what we kind of did already. I mean,
yeah.
he's,
There's nothing
he's
going
like,
on in Germany.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really. Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends too. Like, I mean, that's why even I think my buddy that went on the Gitmo, he was just like, like, you get your fun, you get your like interesting parts of the job where he's like, I got to do some like kind of cool shit and like got to
Yeah,
deal with some like interesting people. He goes, they hate us. They hate Americans. That's
oh
all I
yeah,
can. He's like, that's all I can say. He's like, they hate us. I mean, but that's a given.
yeah,
They think we're the scum of the earth, while we're thinking they're the scum of the earth. So
yeah, yeah,
it's like a back and forth battle. But he's like, it's just like I, I don't know. He goes, unless you were able to go and like do something like where it's combat. He goes, you kind of have your like downtime, where it's not
yeah.
exactly always going like, okay, what's next? Like, what's the next extreme thing we're gonna do? Like,
Mhm,
it's more like, okay, well, we're going fishing. Like, that's what we're doing.
mhm.
So
Yeah, no, yeah, no. There really is. There is a lot of downtime, and again, that is all dependent on the deployment, um, and things like that. So there was some operations we were running in my really second and third, especially my third. God, there were so many of those um, operations where you're how can I put this? You're basically running maritime police operations. That's kind of what you're doing.
okay,
So you're just helping locals out so that way they can traverse the water safely from, I think at the time it was Iranians, yeah. So, um, yeah, and when that happens, then yeah, your watches, then everything gets screwy because then you need to have guys stand topside watches and they need to be up on mounts and things like that. So, you know, and when that happens, man, everything just it gets it screws with the schedule, it screws with ship activities and things like that. So everybody's got to adjust. But when you're not doing certain operations where the entire ship needs to be involved, then yeah, it's your basic day to day. Get your maintenance done. Make sure your equipment is good to go. Make sure your spaces are clean, and then if all that's good to go, then all right, go stand your watch.
yeah. So in this ship is okay. So the top side, is it like, okay? What I'm picturing is when you talk about it, is like the ones with like the planes on and all that shit, or is it more of just an actual like ship?
Well, that's topside, sure. Yeah, anything topside is outside the skin of the ship. That's what
Yeah.
we mean by topside. So, yeah, those ones that's the flight deck. On the carriers with the when they got the planes and the jets and the helos, their topside is essentially the flight deck.
Yeah.
Um, on the small boys for the destroyers and even the cruisers, the there is a flight deck, but that's separate. So we have topside and then we have a flight deck. Our flight deck was aft. And anytime we talked about topside, it would be forward of the flight deck. So the flight deck was designed specifically for helos to come in and land.
Okay.
And then there would be a portion, like I said, forward of that would be all just topside with all this other stuff that bosun mates would have to take care of, and topside preservation. And well, that's fun, topside preservation. A lot of grinding and getting rust off and painting. Good times. I've had to do that too.
Damn. So all from what I'm hearing right now is you just did a lot of fucking cleaning up and maintenance and shit. Huh? Like that's what it is. Like you just got to keep that shit clean and tight and ready to go at all costs.
Yes. That's essentially what a deployment is, or what your job is on the ship, because the mentality was that you fight the ship is how we described it. Because if there's one enemy you're always fighting, it's the decay of the ship.
Yeah.
Because it's always in water. So you always have to keep it clean. You always have to maintain readiness and all that stuff. So yeah, that was constantly what we were doing every day.
Yeah. So boats always moving then, always.
Yeah. For the most part, even when we're not moving, we used to call it 2 knots to nowhere. Like if we were just in a box, just kind of doing things, we would just kind of sit there cruising and patrolling is what we did. So,
did you ever hit any nasty storms at all, or?
Real bad ones, no. We did try to stay away from those. We would hit a couple of storms where I think we were hitting 10-foot swells. Since our spaces were forward, all the way forward, we would feel it really the worst. Forward and then aft. Like if you're on the two most extremes of the ship, you're really gonna feel it. Whereas if you're like midships, like right in the middle, then you won't feel that teetering as much. But yeah, forward, oh man, there would be so many times when we hit a swell. And you know that feeling when you're on like a ride, maybe like a roller coaster, where that sense of suspension in the air just before you drop?
Yeah.
Well, imagine feeling that and having that feeling never go away.
Okay.
So that's how you get queasy. That's how people get seasick, because then that suspension and then the drop over and over and over again. It'd be a little rough. It would be a little rough. So yeah.
Like we do like the jet skis and like boats and shit like that by us, like in Illinois, and like you get like your little thing of it. Mm-hmm. But like when you get that one time, you go, all right, let's crank it back. We'll put it into neutral here. Let's coast for a second here, because that shit was a little rough, and we're not doing that again. So I couldn't imagine doing it over and over again, especially like because a storm like that. Normally storms don't just like come and go. Like storms are long. Like those things aren't. Yeah. Those things. I mean, those storms out there don't fuck around at all. Like they're.
Yep. We we did. There was one particular one where there was a really bad storm, and this was on my first deployment. We were coming home, crossing the Atlantic, but we stayed away from it, and so we took this kind of a northerly rounding route. So it took us just a little bit longer to get home because of it, but I went up to the pilot house and I looked out down south. So we were north of the storm, and the storm was south, and it was just dark. It was black, with clouds miles high in the air. And then there was no horizon. It just blurred. You didn't even see it. But then west, like straight ahead of us, like the clouds dissipated up into the sky and the sun was setting, and there were so many colors. So many colors in the sky. And the ocean, the Atlantic, from where we were at, was like a pond. There was almost no ripples in the water, in this large body of water. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I got a picture of it, and it's an amazing picture. Absolutely love it. it was probably the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my entire life. So you get to see a lot of things. That's one of the things that I was grateful for, is being in the Navy. Is there's a lot of things that there's a large portion of the population that has never really been to sea, and there's so many things that you see out in the middle of the ocean that you just won't really be able to kind of put your eyes on land. Like for example, the sunset at sea is amazing, especially the one I saw. The night sky, on a moonless night sky, the amount of stars you see
Yeah.
is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And then the what was the other one? And then when there is a storm, whenever it's not so bad, the lightning storms are crazy. I had a chief on board. He was carrying around a camera, so like he was always supposed to be taking pictures and everything. So he got this picture of one of the lightning storms, and he got a picture of one of the flashes that's just going across the sky. And I swiped that picture. I was like, that's an amazing picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of the things that you see in the ocean out there is once in a lifetime kind of thing. So yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I've been on like a couple of cruises here and there,
Yeah.
but so I mean you see that, but like it's also funny too. Like when you're here in Arizona, you don't see stars that much up in the sky at all. I mean,
Wait, yeah.
unless you
Well,
get
you're
out
in
to
the
the
middle of the
desert,
city. Yeah, you got
that
to get
little to a
out.
desert, little desert is all
Yeah.
right. But like so like when we go up to Wisconsin and we go up to I don't you ever heard of the Dells before? The Wisconsin Dells?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Wisconsin Dells is it's like north of Madison.
Okay.
It's about an hour north of Madison. It's called Wisconsin Dells. It's a very big tourist attraction. And then we have a house about 20 minutes north of there. So we're in
Okay.
the middle. We're in the middle. We have a cabin up there, middle of fucking nowhere. The
Nice.
for the longest time the house actually didn't even exist on the map. But although it still had like an address and everything, so it's just super cool, super secluded.
Right.
And man, you go out there at night, like you go out there at 1 o'clock in the morning, like clear night, right? And normally it's
Yeah.
always and like during the summertime, it's always like a clear night. It seemed like, and you
Hmm.
go out there and you cruise out on the 4 wheeler, turn the lights off on the 4 wheeler, and you just look straight up, and you're just like, wow, like this is
Yeah.
awesome. Like this is cool as shit. Because like even back home too, like we didn't really live near towns that much. Like we were
Mm.
part of a town, but we were unincorporated, so like we kind of do whatever the fuck you want in unincorporated areas.
Yeah.
So we weren't really that close to anything that much. Like we're about 15, 20 minutes away, and like even then, you'd look up and be like, "Yeah, this is awesome." But then you go to Wisconsin in the middle of nowhere, and you
Yeah.
look up and you're like, "This is badass." Like this is
Hmm.
like because you don't even like. Okay, when I would be at home, you could pull out like different like constellations and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
when you're like out there in the middle of like Wisconsin, in the middle of nowhere, and you look up, you're like, you don't even look for anything. You just like look at it all and just bring it all in. You're like, this is cool as shit. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like even then, but then here it's like, I mean, again, last night I think I went outside on the balcony and I was just like, all right, like, cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's that darkness where it's so dark, like you can't even see your hand in front of your face, kind of
yeah,
dark, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, and I've experienced that a couple of times. That's why I always tell you, like, never go topside at night. Never go topside at night. Um, yeah, man, it was that kind of dark though it's kind of like this weird eerie coolness. You know what I mean? Like you get to look up in all this amazement because I got a friend of mine. I guess she's kind of doing uh, uh amateur like photography, I think.
hmm
And
hmm
she said something about I guess the summertime is the best time to see the Milky Way. And so I've seen some of her pictures, and that's something that I would really like to see. I really want to get out, like way out in the middle of nowhere one night, and just to see, because there are moments where you actually can see the Milky Way
hmm
in the night sky. So that's something that I wouldn't mind seeing. And then I do want to get to Alaska, and I want to see the Aurora Borealis.
Oh, I think that would be the coolest thing. I think it'd be the coolest thing because
Absolutely.
I don't even know. You don't. They even say you don't even have to go up that far. You can go up into Canada to northern,
Oh yeah,
like even like mid to northern Canada before like it gets like super shitty. Like
yeah.
obviously you want to go during like the summer, not during the winter
Summer.
time.
Yeah.
You don't want to be going during negative 50-degree weather, but they say even up there you can start to see it a little bit too. And like
Mhm.
I think that would be badass. I think that's cool as shit.
Absolutely. Oh
I
yeah.
think to be able to see like the lights up in the sky. Like I mean, you see it like like pictures make it look like it's like some shit you want to see. And like
Absolutely.
you see the movies and you're like, whatever, like it's a movie. But like I want to be able to be there and experience that myself. Like I think
Oh
that
yeah.
would be awesome. That would be awesome for sure.
hmm Oh, that's how I always feel. Is I'd rather see it for myself. Like pictures are cool, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I've tried to live my life. Really, is my own to experience things, to see things for myself. Like going back, what we were talking about earlier, when you were talking about coming down here to Arizona, like meeting new people and having all these different kinds of opinions to kind of take in, things like that. Like when I got out of the Navy, I decided I wanted to do a cross country road trip. And it took me like 28 days to do it. So
Really?
yeah, because I took my sweet ass time. I did not rush this at all. Thankfully, I had a bank account that could support that. So I leaving Norfolk, and that was almost like the beautiful poetry of it all. Was that I was literally on the East Coast, and I was moving back to the West Coast. I was going to move up to Washington and stay with my mom for just a bit. And so, starting on the East Coast, I did this West Coast cross country thing, and I stopped in Knoxville, Tennessee. I did not know that University of Tennessee was there, so I got to walk around campus a little bit, check it out, and whatnot. Knoxville was cool, meeting people there. And then I stayed in Nashville for a couple of nights, and Nashville's a good time. If you're looking for a good time and you can't afford Vegas, Nashville's where it's at. That Nashville's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that for a little while. And then I was trying to make stops at cities that had hard rock cafes because a few years back I started any city that I would go to that had a hard rock, I would buy one of those like collector glasses,
Yeah.
and I started a collection. And just like right over here, I got them all lined up. I got like I think 24, 26 right now. So
Nice.
I was trying to stop in places that had them, so that way I would pick them up. So Memphis was another one where I was gonna make a stop, but I didn't know much about Memphis, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna stop here for a little while and then head up to St. Louis.
Okay.
Well, I got into Memphis on a Saturday. I want to say yeah. It was like Saturday afternoon. Because yeah, driving through Tennessee didn't take that long. So from like Knoxville to Nashville was only about 2.5, 3 hours, and then from Nashville to Memphis was just another couple hours. So I got to Memphis pretty quick. And when I got there, beautiful day, sun was shining, and there was a crap ton of people out on I think it was Beale Street. Beale Street is like the place to go whenever you go to Memphis. And they had Beale Street all blocked off. It was nothing but pedestrians down this street. And I was like, what is going on? What did I just stumble upon here? And little did I know, this was like right in the beginning or middle of May at this point, and it was their Memphis in May music festival.
Okay.
And I was like, well, now I gotta stay. Now I have to stay. So I walked around and I checked it out, and I talked to a couple of people in different bars that I went to, a little chit chat here and there. And then I found out that the actual festival, the big festival, was down on the waterfront. So I walked down there and get myself a ticket and check it out. And they had like 2 or 3 stages with different bands and everything. And I ended up checking out, who was it? 2 Chainz. I went to the stage that had 2 Chainz, and then Wiz Khalifa was going to be coming on. So, and they had some band that was going to be coming out that I knew I can't remember the name of them, but I knew who they were, but I wasn't really interested in them.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let me go check out this 2 Chainz because I feel like this is going to be a party. And it sure was because I got there, and yeah, the smell of weed was strong. The people were packed. People were trying to get past me to get up to the front. I'm like, why? Where are you guys going? It's packed. Like just stay where you're at. So after 2 Chainz, Wiz Khalifa was coming up. Everybody went for a beer run, and I'm like, I'm going up to the front now because everybody was gone. So I said, screw it. I don't need alcohol right now. I want a good spot. So I ended up getting a good spot. Made some friends while I was there too. There was like this big group of people that came around me, and we all just talked, and I kind of just became part of their group. So yeah, Memphis was a good time. Didn't
So
even think
yes,
it.
so fresh out of the Navy, you know, so you're walking into a fucking party and you're like,
Yeah.
weed. Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, exactly. Fresh out, and I'm just, oh man, it was so much fun, dude. Because Memphis was totally spur of the moment. Like I said, I wasn't even gonna stop there, and here I am. I'm just hanging out, and I meet friends and whatnot. And so, then yeah, I went up to St. Louis. That was on a Sunday, so it was pretty boring. There was really nothing going on in St. Louis that day. So I was only really there, I think, that day. Yeah, I only
St.
really
Louis,
stayed there.
St. Louis, see, St. Louis is one of those places where you can go for like a weekend and like you don't really need to go back again. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been there once,
yeah.
and that's enough for me. I
Yeah.
mean, but that's just because like I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, and our biggest rival is the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
So and like they lost their football team to LA, so they really
Yeah.
don't have shit besides baseball. And
Yeah.
I really, but St. Louis, like, which did you go? You came from the Illinois side into Missouri then?
Tennessee, technically Tennessee, because yeah, I was Memphis is just south. It's on the Mississippi River, so I just took that north right up. So technically, yeah, that would have been from the Illinois side going over. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did check out. I checked out the arch. I went up inside, and that was interesting. Did you do
Okay.
that when you went?
No, we didn't go up into the arch. I don't,
Okay.
again, because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's St. Louis. I don't know. Yeah, it's
Okay.
cool, man. Like it's like when I think of St. Louis, I think of Southern Illinois, and there's nothing really going on. I mean, I've been to Missouri where you go to. I went to Lake of the Ozarks. I don't know if you drove past that at all.
I might have. I don't remember.
Lake of the Ozarks, super big lake.
Hmm.
It's got like 140 miles of like lakes, but it's like this. It's like a big winding and curving thing, and they
Okay.
have coves on it and everything. Super cool place to be. Like
Yeah.
the water's super deep. It's like 30 to 50 feet deep, so like you're not like
Yeah.
bottoming out anywhere. It's just super deep, super cool place. And then I mean I've been to Kansas City, but on the Missouri side.
Okay.
We didn't stay in the Kansas side. Went to the Missouri side.
Okay. That was my next stop actually.
Yeah.
Was Kansas City. I was driving over, and I had to get me some Kansas City barbecue. So somebody that I knew, she actually hit me up and told me of there were like at least 3 spots. She's like, these are the best 3 spots that I know of in that city. So I went to one. I don't remember which one it was, but she was not lying, man. I went there. I sat at the bar. I talked to the bartender, and that was a nice thing too about this trip was it gave me a lot of icebreakers. It gave me something to talk about to anybody and everybody that I would meet at a bar, whether it be somebody, another patron, or the actual bartender. Like the bartender in Kansas City at the restaurant that I went to, I was telling her about like my trip and everything, and she's like, well, where's your next stop? I was like, well, I'm going to be here for a little while, but really only about a day. Actually, no, I think I'm only staying the night. And I said, my next stop is Denver. And she goes, oh, wow, no way. I'm going to be in Denver. I'm like, oh, no way. So she gave me like her contact info, and we never actually ended up getting together or anything. But that was just like the vibe that was so cool was that, she's like, well, hey, I mean, you're driving across, you're going to be there. Here you go. We do like this cool game night thing with my friends. If you want to come over, I was like, oh, all right, cool. Um, so I just made all these different friends, in the moment while I
Yeah.
was doing this, and yeah, I can't. Oh my god, the food was amazing,
Oh yeah.
so
Oh
amazing.
yeah. It's like
Oh my god,
it kicks anything's ass anywhere you go. You can't
yeah.
there's no way you could go and you can find the best place here. What's the little misses or whatever. It's in Tempe over here. It's like Little Miss Barbecue, I believe what's called.
Oh, okay.
I'll look it up, but like so even around here too, where you get to yeah, it's called Little Miss Barbecue. It's like ranked
Oh,
like
okay.
it's ranked. It's 5 stars on whatever. It's ranked as like one of the best Central Texas style barbecue. Like they say it's one of like the best places like in Arizona to go to. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, I've been to places like in Chicago and stuff, but we went to Kansas City for barbecue, my old man and I, and that was the best barbecue food. Like, and we did is too, and like we didn't chintz on it either. You know, we got a platter, we got a big ass platter, and I was like, give it to all of us. Like, give us the brisket, give us the pulled pork, give us everything
Yeah.
give us it all. Like, I want to experience it all. Give me some ribs, you know, whatever you got, bring it all. So like,
Give it
that's
the
what we did.
sampler, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we did, and it was just like, this is the best. Like, you
Yeah,
don't go wrong with this. Like,
absolutely.
but then so then you went through Kansas. Then I'm guessing Kansas up into.
Yeah, dude, that was God. Kansas is a long drive. Oh my God, there's nothing in Kansas.
It's a huge state. It's actually a huge state. It's actually bigger than I thought it was too, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
we went through.
Took
So
me eight
obviously,
hours. Eight
oh
hours
yeah,
to get.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So when we came out here, when we drove, we did Western Illinois through Iowa, through
Mm,
Nebraska,
yeah,
into Eastern Colorado, and then
yeah,
into Denver, and then Denver straight down. Actually, the first time we went to like Utah, and then Utah straight down.
okay,
Um, but then I think the second time coming back home, we went through New Mexico, then back through Denver, and then those boring states. I went
yeah.
with my dad, and we went through Kansas. And
Gosh,
Kansas, man, Kansas is like, I put
yeah,
Kansas in the same category as Eastern Illinois or Western Illinois, Iowa, and Nebraska, and Eastern Colorado. Like
yeah,
all of those locations, I just like, you sit there and you go like, you see a bunch of houses and you're like, what the fuck do you do out here? Like
yeah,
if you're not a farmer, what are you doing? I don't understand what you're doing if you're not a farmer out here. I
yeah,
like, why would you want to be out here even in the first place? Like, this is just awful,
yeah,
awful.
dude. It was God. It was so long, and yeah, I know the Eastern Colorado was just the exact. It didn't change until I actually hit Denver. Like
Yep.
I actually got into Denver, and I finally saw the mountains. I was like, wow, okay, okay. So I was in Denver for I want to say 3 days. I just heard a lot about Denver. I was like, all right, I'm gonna schedule a good amount of time in Denver. And then there was like this amphitheater, kind of outside of Denver, Red Rock, some jazz or some weird thing like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I went out there. I hiked that for a little bit, and then going up that way, you get there's like a small, tiny little town, like almost like just a small little main strip of a town. And it's not. I mean, it's not. I don't even know if it's like a real town. It's just. But I stopped there to grab like a burger and like a shake. I was like, I'm just gonna hang out here for a little bit. So yeah, I was in Denver for a little while. I caught a Rockies game.
Yeah.
Uh, I wanted to go to a Cardinals game when I was in St. Louis, but they weren't in town. So I was like, bummer. So I caught the Rockies when I was in Colorado. And then when I was done with Denver, I drove through the Rockies actually. So I didn't go south. I didn't go down to Colorado Springs. I decided to go down, get all the way deep into the mountains. And that was going to take me to Page, Arizona. It was going to be my next stop.
Okay.
And that's like in like the very tip, like it's almost on the border of Arizona and Utah.
Yep.
And that took me 13 hours to do. 13 hours.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, there was a lot of things contributing to that. Like one, I was stopping like almost every 10 minutes, taking pictures and whatnot. But then also like because it was the mountains, it wasn't just this straight shot. It was like a lot of curves and whatnot. And then Page was basically just a night because that was coming up towards the weekend, and that weekend I had reservations at the Aria in Vegas. So I had my buddy come up for a couple of nights in Vegas, had a pretty good time. Came down here to Phoenix, hung out with the brother for a little while. And then he actually drove over to San Diego with me. And so we hung out in San Diego for a little bit, introduced him to a buddy of mine who was stationed there. And then I took Highway 101 up to
Straight up.
Seattle.
And
Yeah.
that's 20, that's 15, that's almost 20 hours there, isn't it?
Well, I didn't do it all in one chunk. So I stopped in I stopped in Santa Monica. Basically just for nostalgia purposes, because when I was in San Diego, I would go to LA and Santa Monica all the time.
Hmm.
And plus I knew someone who was there, so I kind of hit her up. I was like, "Hey, I'm in town." So hung out for a little bit, and then yeah, I was only in LA, I think, for maybe a couple of days, not even that.
Yeah.
And so I went up. My uncle told me to stop in Monterey, California. He said if you're out that way, you should stop there. So I didn't make a big stop of it, but it was on the way to San Francisco, and that was going to be a place where I was going to be hanging out for a couple of days. So I decided, all right, I'll stop here in Monterey and check it out. And so I walked around like the waterfront area and the town and whatnot. It's a nice little, it's like a little quaint little town, um, kind of quiet, but it's still got its hustle and bustle things to do. So I like Monterey. It was pretty cool. At the time it was kind of dreary. There was like a storm rolling in, but once I got to San Francisco, I stayed there. I think I stayed there for like 3 days in San Fran, just checking everything out.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, and then once I was in after San Fran, that was kind of like a full shot up, but I stayed somewhere in Oregon, I think, just on the border, because it's still like from San Francisco going up to Oregon. That's still a hell of a drive. You still got a little ways to go.
Yeah.
So I stayed somewhere in Oregon, and then after that, I finally made it up to Seattle. So
Yeah.
yeah,
See, that's when we came out here. We did. So we went from. We have a. So our house is about an hour and a half west of Chicago. And
yeah.
people always say like, "Oh, that's like Iowa." No, it's not like Iowa because you still have another 3.5 to 4 hours before you even come close to even the border. Okay, so you still have another. So about I think it's 5 hours to the border. So you guys are 5 hours to the border. Then it's 8 hours to Des Moines, and then
Yeah.
after going through there, we actually made it in one straight shot from our house to Denver, which was it was like a little under 15 hours, I think it was, after everything said and done. I mean, I
Hmm.
had my Dodge Charger, and there was three of us, so you're pretty much fly as fast as you can to certain locations. Just go like we want to get to
Right.
Denver as fast as you can, and then you know, then that second day, so it was supposed to actually be shorter. It was supposed to be 15 hours to Denver, spend the night, and then it was supposed to be only 14 hours, and we were supposed to get in at like we're supposed to get in at like midnight into Arizona,
Yeah.
and we ended up going to Moab, Utah, and then we took that, we hung out there, had dinner, we started drinking at the bar, so then of course we had to like wait a while before we started driving. We got into Arizona finally at around 7:30 a.m. And like so that's why it took so long. So like it almost was longer than the trip, like so yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we we screwed around too much, I think. But you know what? It was an awesome trip. It was an awesome trip for sure. That's what we did the first time we came out here. I had three of
Yeah.
us. It was myself, my best friend, and my brother-in-law. Then I went home with my dad. We stopped three times. We stopped once in Albuquerque.
Okay.
We stopped once in Denver, and then we stopped in Kansas City, and then Kansas City back home. So
How
it's
was
pretty much
Albuquerque?
Albuquerque was boring, boring as
Yeah.
fuck. Like there's nothing out there. Like we went to a casino. Actually, it was kind of cool. Went to a casino. They gave us like a free $45 to play with, and I turned that $45 into 500, and then I was like, oh, okay, let's go home. Like I don't need
Nice.
to spend another dollar here. Like I never spent a
Right.
dollar, and we're not gonna have to spend a dollar. So that was cool. You win some money from just them giving you money, pretty much.
Right.
You
Right.
didn't have to put any of your own money in, and then like so it pretty much was like 8 hour shots coming home. It was like eight
Right.
hours to Kirky,
Yeah.
8 hours to Denver. Then it was like 8 hours, 9 hours to I think it was 10 hours actually to Kansas City, and then Kansas City home was like another 8 hours or whatever it was. So that was a super easy trip to do because you don't get tired. So I drove most of the time
Yeah.
home. The most of the time home I drove because it was like I can drive 8 hours. Like that's not a problem. Like I can do that no
Yeah. That's
problem.
pretty easy.
But then when we drove from Chicago, from my place to um, Denver, coming back out here the second time, which was back in August,
Hmm.
driving back out here again, it was just two of us, and we drove to Denver straight, spent the night, got fucked up in Denver, and then drove from Denver straight down to Arizona. And that trip alone, it takes 30 hours. It's 30 hours. And we did it all, like, just the two of us. Like, it's pretty much you drive until you can't drive anymore, until you feel yourself starting to fall asleep. Next person gets in, start going, get yourself some cigarettes and some Red Bull and just pound through it, get through it, and get it over with. Like, get your ass to Arizona because you get ready to party your ass off for 3 days or whatever you had. So that was pretty much our trip. But yeah, I mean, I never had an issue with driving across country. I think it's because when I was younger, we used to drive from northern Illinois down to Florida. So that's a 18-hour drive, and we would do it. And we would, and I think my dad would do it all straight through. I mean, my mom would drive a little bit, my dad would drive, and we would just get straight through, so we could get there as quickly as we could, so we could spend the most amount of time there. But. So I've never had issues with driving across the country. I mean, because that's damn near across country. You're there. You're going. I mean, Florida's a giant state. When you actually hit Florida, you're like, oh yeah, like we're here. And then all of a sudden, like 7 hours later, you're like, oh, now we're here. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So well, that's nice. What's nice about that though is when I went down there, I was driving through. They actually go. Like, I was doing 80, and there were people on the right of me flying by me. I was like, oh, okay, so that's how you guys do it down here. Okay.
Yeah, see, that was the biggest thing, too, coming from Illinois to here. Is Illinois, you have your passing lane is the left side. So you want to pass people, everyone else moves over. And, you know what I mean? And here, these motherfuckers are horrible drivers. Like, you're in the left lane doing 60, while the guy in the right lane is doing like 95, and it's like, so I have to pass you by going back and forth. I go, oh, that's super safe. That's super safe. I'm in on that. And these motherfuckers don't put their signals on. They fucking just fly over, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's a different story, different time. They're just. I
actually saw an accident just the other day. It was so crazy. I was driving up through like Papago Park area, and there was this black Volvo that passed me, and we're coming up to the intersection, and we got the green light, so we're going. But I start getting a little ways back, and then there's this car. It's like this Chevy something or other that was turning right, but instead of staying to the near lane, she went into the far lane where this Volvo was coming. Now, I saw the whole thing, and I could see the reason why she was doing that was because there were two bikers, like right on the shoulder of that near lane. I was like, okay, I can see what you're doing there. The problem is you're about to hit this Volvo that's coming along doing probably about 50. And they basically sideswiped each other within the lane. And they both stopped. And I start to pass. As I'm passing them, the driver of the Chevy gets out, and it's this older lady. She throws her arms up like, what the heck? And I'm driving away just kind of laughing. I'm like, that old lady thinks it's the girl in the Volvo's fault when it was clearly her fault. Because she just did not, wasn't paying attention or just didn't care. I don't know. But I think that's one of the things about Arizona is because of the whole snowbird issue. And the snowbirds, and not only that, but you get a lot of people from a bunch of different parts of the country. Like, there's very few people from Phoenix who are actually born and raised here. So because of that, you get all these different people with different driving educations, for the most part, coming together, and all this shit's clashing. So, I mean, that's my theory. I could be wrong, but
yeah, it's
it's a crapshoot, man. It really is.
It is for sure. It is for sure. But all right, I appreciate you coming on the show today. It's a little after 1:30 here. I still gotta knock out a couple other little things here before I gotta then eventually do my fucking homework later.
Yeah, man, get on that.
But it's weird. I just got a text message. Actually, I'll share it with you and everyone else. It's a 480 number, so it's Phoenix or Arizona, I'm guessing. And it says, "Hi Kyle, it's Sunny." I don't know who Sunny is.
Oh yeah, I just got that myself. Yeah,
You
Sunny
just got
is yeah. It's a computer texting you. Sunny is it's a representative of Arizona State because it's sun, so they called it Sunny. It's
Oh, okay. Because it
yeah,
just popped up and it says like they sent me a GIF, a friend and me, all these things, and I'm like, I wanted to respond back and be like, how the hell did you get my number?
yeah.
I don't know, I've never seen this before. I've never gotten a text message from.
Really?
Yeah, so this is weird, but
I get texts from Sunny every semester. Every semester that guy hits me up. It's just a computer, man. That's all that is. Computer generated text message that goes out to everybody.
weird, weird. Never have gotten that before, but yeah. So, but I appreciate you coming on the show, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, and we'll have to get you on again soon. We'll get these up on YouTube and all the good stuff too. So
Cool,
I'll start
man.
I'll start throwing that out there, and then I'll throw this one up here in a little bit here and post it,
Good stuff.
and we'll be good from there. But I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, no problem, man. You have a good one.
All right, you too.